So our lead this hour is from a matchup that we have seen often in the postseason in recent years in a couple of teams that have been in the playoffs. One of them fancies themselves a legitimate heavyweight in the NFC. That would be from the Sunshine State, not the home team, the Buccaneers. No, that's not the story here. That would be the road team, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles and Bucks getting together in Florida. The late, great Philly Rob would have loved this matchup. May he rest in peace. But if you didn't watch this, maybe you missed it. Maybe you were not watching. You were watching some other game, or you just missed it altogether. Baker Mayfield had not one, not two, but 3 touchdowns. 347 yards passing. Tampa Bay sacked Jalen Hurts not one, not twice, not 3, not 4, not 5. How about 6 times? And Buccaneers. Smooth sailing for Fox Sports Radio alumni member TJ Reeves, 33-16, the win over Philadelphia. But the better story is in the losing locker room, and so that is where we will start here. Philadelphia, with many issues, many offensive issues. You could also argue defensive issues, giving up 33 points as they are coming apart at the seams. But much of the conversation is about their franchise quarterback, who yet again went out there and rode the vomit comet. So let us discuss the question: how do you categorize this latest performance by franchise quarterback Jalen Hurts for the Eagles? So I've got WWF, DNT, and Jackson Hole. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a 3-piece suit, which is what you can wear when you watch the Eagles eliminated from postseason competition down the line. But anyway, we'll begin with this. Now, number one. So I would categorize this performance by Jalen Hurts as the P word, perplexing. Not that P word. Perplexing is the word I will use. Jalen Hurts continues to be a puzzle that's missing a couple of pieces. And when the puzzle does not have all the pieces, the puzzle cannot be completed. Now you say, well, any quarterback's going to struggle like that. But I look at Jalen Hurts a little bit different. We've seen this guy play for a number of years now, and he had that breakout season, was it 2022, the breakout season. But here we are in 2024, and he has become, Jalen Hurts, the living embodiment of a 1980s WWF superstar wrestler. I'm talking about Mr. Perfect. When everything is just right, home cooking, the bird brain fans going nuts, right? Having a great time, and all the players are there. It's a perfect harmony for Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts. But the Eagles' offense is regularly stuck in the mire unless they have all of their key players with Jalen Hurts. Ergo, he is unable to perform consistently at a high level unless he has all of his artillery. Now, by my definition, what do I know about football? I just did the overnight show, but my definition, you're not a great if that's how you perform. Because you take any of these quarterbacks in the NFL, and they will put up numbers. They will have stats. If everyone is healthy around them, the offensive line is. It's like Justin Herbert. We talked about the Chargers. Herbert didn't have a couple of offensive linemen. Some guys were out. He was a zero. He was a fraud. Same thing goes here with Jalen Hurts in this game. Hurts has been billed as an elite quarterback by the Philadelphia establishment there, the media, because he was an MVP candidate a couple years ago. But the guys that succeed, even when they don't have everyone lined up, there's not many of them. Right? There's not many of them. I'm not saying there's a lot of them, but Jalen Hurts is not. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy, right? In less than perfect situations. Is there any way you can debunk this? Is there any way? I don't think you can. When they're shorthanded, when there's adversity, he doesn't show up. There's not a lot of guts, not a lot of guile in those situations. Now, the Eagles did not have Lane Johnson. I believe A.J. Brown was out, Devontae Smith out of the Philadelphia lineup. And the Eagles, I kept flipping to this game. I'm like, whoa. And I had Tampa, so I was happy with the outcome. Picked Tampa for the TV show, so I was happy about that. But The Eagles had, let me check my notes here, 0 yards of offense, which is, as my grandfather would say, bupkis. They had 0 yards of offense until there were 6 minutes left in the second quarter. So the entire first quarter and most of the second quarter, they had zero yards of offense, and by the time they gained yardage, they were down 24-0. We suck again. And Hurts, I keep seeing the same problems that have haunted him when he has had the poor games where he holds the ball for too long and he gets locked in on certain receivers, and when those receivers aren't playing, he doesn't know where to throw the ball to, and it's a problem, and teams have figured out if you can keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket, you're probably going to win the game, and it's a very emasculating situation for the Philadelphia Eagles. The good news is they have Jalen Hurts locked up for a lot of money for the next couple of years. Now, page 2. To Jersey. We go to Jersey, where Bo Nix and the Broncos, I say upset the Jets, but it wasn't necessarily because of Bo Nix doing anything amazing. 10-9 on a rain-soaked afternoon in the swamplands of New Jersey there. Aaron Rodgers, that is the story. As Aaron Rodgers, franchise-changing quarterback, how did he perform? Don't ask. Rodgers came out, he said, the weather sucked, but so did some of my throws, was his money quote. What is your reaction to Aaron Rodgers and his many struggles with the Jets as they only scored 9 points against the Broncos? Jets favored by a wide margin, and they lose the game outright at home. So my reaction to Aaron Rodgers' issues are D&T, death and taxes, as in this was predictable. It's predictable. Aaron Rodgers, now they're starting to plant the seed of excuse. I saw some stories planted recently in the last few hours here about Rodgers and the Achilles is acting up and it's giving him some difficulties, and that's why he's not playing at a high level. Also, even his coach, Robert Saleh, after the game said he's banged up a little bit. Rodgers being knocked around by the Bronco defense there, and Robert Saleh said it's wear and tear. Could it be that when you get to a certain age, I mean, we're not even midway through the season, and already Rodgers is looking shaky? And isn't this guy the personification, the epitome of a bad weather quarterback playing for the Packers all those years at Lambeau Field? And a little rain, it wasn't that cold, just a little rain, and that's the issue there for the Jets and their offense. And this was a zombie performance personified by the Jets offense. Gangrene. You talk about not being on the same page. They had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 pre-snap penalties. 4 of them. 4 of them. You know what that is? Pop Warner is what that is. That's Pop Warner football. You can't even get the play off without a penalty. Right? You can't call. It's one thing after the ball is snapped, but you can't even snap the ball without having somebody commit a penalty. 4 of them. Tells you there's a lack of focus. There was a lack of focus there, and that's on Rodgers, but that's also on Robert Saleh as well. You're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. Either way, the Jets are not a well-coached team, and Robert Saleh continues to be a motivational speaker and a rah-rah guy in terms of coaching. That's what he is. He's a rah-rah guy. Rah-rah! Woohoo! All right, final point. Let's go to that New Orleans Atlanta NFC South Donnybrook. Came down to the very end. Falcons won on a field goal as essentially time ran out. Are you surprised by Derek Carr and his poor performance for the Saints offense? So I'm shaking my head no on this. Life comes at you fast in the NFL, and Carr was riding atop the mountain there. But in this case, he was riding atop the mountain at the snow resort in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And he's back out over his skis now. Back out in front over his skis. For a while, it looked good, right? He's the MVP after 2 weeks in the NFL. And the Saints coach was getting interviewed by Dan Patrick. And everyone was, oh, rah-rah, the Saints and all that stuff. But this is what's known as, look it up, kids, a regression to the mean, a regression to the mean that data evens out. Extreme outcomes are followed by more moderate ones. Thus, Derek Carr for a couple weeks looking really, really good, and now not so much. Now he's back to being the guy that we always knew he would be and has been in the NFL. Another fall from grace. How about the offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, who was being given multiple head coaching jobs by the pundits a couple weeks ago, and now all of a sudden, now you know why the Vikings got rid of him. Clint Kubiak, he went from Mensa to a headache is what he went to. All right, now meanwhile, there was some good audio from this game. When you have good audio, I'm told you got to play good audio. So here's the good audio. This is Falcons coach Raheem Morris. He was asked about Kyle Pitts, the tight end. Remember the high draft pick Kyle Pitts, who the nerds all had their pants off for. They were all excited about this guy Kyle Pitts, God's gift to the tight end position. And he had no catches in this game. Here's Raheem Morris asked about that.
It's just about going out there and winning the game when you're out there and you're playing. He had a couple targets today, had a couple things going out that way. We believe we got a questionable call at the end of the stretch again to Kyle. And, those things are always unfortunate. But, really for me, man, stats are for losers, man. I don't get involved in that stuff. But you go out there, you try to win each game, and we were able to win it today. And that's what we did.
Now, the key part of it, I think you figured it out by listening. Stats are for losers. So Raheem Morris says stats are for losers. Does that work for you? All right. So, on this one, now Kyle Pitts, by the way, just for the record, was targeted 3 times. He had no catches in the game. So this one is baffling, and here's why. Coaches get hired and fired based on their stats, their record. Now, we know that. And Kyle Pitts has been a failure, but Raheem Morris doesn't want to admit it. This is now multiple coaches that have been unable to this point to tap the immense ability that supposedly Kyle Pitts has. And so eventually you have to look at the man in the mirror and say it's Kyle Pitts, that the guy can't play, that he's not an impact player, that 2 different coaching staffs have been unable to get that amazing ability out of him. And he looks like Adonis, Kyle Pitts, but he plays like Glass Joe when he's out there. And Morris, I know he's using coach speak and all that. I get it. But has there ever been a player successfully negotiate a contract who said, hey, by the way, I know my stats weren't very good, but stats are for losers, and so I should make a lot of money because, that's just the way it is. Good luck on that.